Hello all. I thought I would do a little blurb on what I'm planning on working on after Inspirational Poster is done. As you can see, it's getting pretty close. There's a bit of pink filigree here. Fill in the rest of the A, the word journey. There's a bit of back stitching there that imitates this bit. And then there's just a little bit of back stitching in a couple other places that I've missed, and then it'll be done. So I was trying to think what I should replace it with, and I don't have a rotation as such, but, pardon the fingers, but I thought this was a fun for me project and I should replace it with something similar. So I think what I'll do is I'll haul out my Storytime sampler, my Frosted Pumpkin Storytime sampler. I started this way after everyone else. In fact, I think I bought the pattern after the actual stitch along was finished. I'm doing it on a 32 count water lily Joblin. It was what I had and I thought it would look good. When I went to buy the Weeks Dye Works floss for the frames, my LNS didn't have, she carries Weeks, but she didn't have the ones that I needed. I think she only had one. And I already had this, here, this one strand of Cadet, sort of a green that has a bit of gray in it. And so I started stitching the frames with that, but I only had one skein, which is why I've done alternating frames, because I figured that way if the other skeins looked a bit different, it would look, the differences would be evenly distributed, I guess, is what I was thinking. The other kind of significant changes I've made, I replaced all the DMC 310 with DMC 3799. The black just looked too harsh to me. And you'll see I've done sort of a very rudimentary gridding here. And I did that after I realized that I was frogging each frame probably more than once in total. So when I stitch a frame, what I'm doing, here I'll zoom in on the newer one. What I'm doing when I stitch a frame is I've got these lines to show me placement relative to the other frames, and then when I stitch a new frame, I run one line down the center, and that helps prevent some of the issues. Now, because so many other people have done this one, I guess I've been able to learn a bit from their experiences, and I noticed that some people are filling in the frame so that the entire picture, so you don't see any fabric inside the picture frame, and I like that idea, which is why I haven't done any of the back stitching yet. There's not a lot of back stitching, but that's why I haven't done any of it yet. So I bought some other Weeks. I got these two blues thinking they might make good sky colors. I got this red thinking specifically about Sherlock, and maybe he has red wallpaper. Some people have done a bookcase in the background. I don't know if that's something I'll do. And then I got these two whites. Now, oh yeah, you can see it. This one here is, turn it over. This is Icicle, and it's a bluish white, and there is some variegation, but it's extremely subtle. And then there's this one, which is White Lightning, and this one has a sort of it variegates with almost a beige, a very light beige. So I thought between those colors, I could at least get a start on deciding what I would like to fill the backgrounds with. So now I'm even more eager to get my inspirational poster done, because then I can get back to this guy. I am waiting on a couple Q-snaps that are a bit larger, and it'll be nice to have more than one Q-snap so I don't have to constantly move the frames if I want to work on something else. And oh, back to the gridding. If you're interested in what I used for gridding, it's a nylon thread that I picked up at my local fabric shop. It's curly, which makes it hard to work with. And the other thing is, I don't think, no, I didn't count groups of 10 or 20 or anything when I was gridding. My goal was just to get a straight line in there. Okay, so that's Storytime Sampler. Hopefully you'll be seeing some more updates on this, maybe even within the same Flosstube episode. We'll see. Depends how many other things I get finished in the meantime. So for now, back to inspirational poster and my Bristol table topper, which I want to get done in about a month's time. So that's kind of taking precedence right now. And then I've got story time to look forward to. Some quick thoughts on the Bristol table topper that I've been working on and mentioned before. I'd really like to have this done for the beginning of August, and we're now at July 3rd. And I was realizing if that's the case, then I need to make substantial progress pretty much on a day-to-day basis. So I'm just going to turn this chart around because I started here. And my goal for today is to finish that square as well as the little filigree beneath it and the piece within the border between there. And then after I'm done, and then maybe this bit too. I've done that one, but this bit too. Once I've done that, then I think I will, I'll need to do some math and figure out what the pace is that I need to maintain in order to get this done in time. There are some plans for camping in there, and I'm not sure this is something I want to bring camping. So yeah. So here, I'll show you what I've got so far. It's in the hoop right now. I have finally completed the nun stitch, and it better be correct because I went ahead and fringed it. So, it's a close-up of that. Give it a second to focus. There you go. There's the nun stitch holding everything in place. And I have also completed this small section. The way it's charted, focus. I always wonder why people talk to their camera and ask it to focus, and now I know. It's charted so that you work on a quarter of the chart at a time. So one chart covers that, the next chart covers that, sort of in triangle sections. The suggestion is not to worry about the direction of your stitches. The designer that is, Claudia Dutcher, she figures it doesn't really matter when you're done. She could very well be right, but I suspect it will matter to me. So I am being careful when I turn it that my stitches will all run in the same direction when you look at it from one vantage point. So when I stitched, chart it away, when I stitched this motif to make sure that that I was pulling threads in the correct spot, I did make sure that relative to these stitches that it was all running the same way. So for today, I'm currently working on this house motif. There's another tree that goes here. Then there's stuff that goes here, and in this bit that's currently squished in the hoop. This, I'm finding I have to work on this bit in hand. There just isn't enough to hold it in the hoop. And then I've got that motif there. There's another identical one that goes here. And once I've done that, then I guess I'll stop and consider what my pacing needs to be in order to finish by the beginning of August. It's supposed to be a gift, so there is a time limit on this one. I thought I'd just talk a little bit more about the hoop that I'm using for Bristol table topper. So until recently I stitched everything in hand, and then when I started stitching again hardcore, my hand was getting really sore, and worse than that, my elbows were locking it, and especially my left hand that I used to hold with. So at night I would wake up and I wouldn't be able to move my hand towards my body without a whole lot of pain, and yeah, it wasn't fun. So I started using hoops and frames and things, and I'm kind of settling in on what I liked to use. And I picked this up at Michael's, at my Michael's. This is a Canadian Michael's, so I don't know if shops in the States carry the same stock. It's a plastic hoop, and if I zoom in just a little, and has a ridge that slots into a groove on the inside of the hoop. And I find that when I'm working with the Ann cloth of my Bristol table topper, it holds it quite securely. I get really good tension for the duration of my stitching. So I'm really liking that. It does leave, I mean, obviously, if you want good tension, it leaves a little bit of a ridge in the fabric, but I'm finding that if I take it out between stitch sessions, that relaxes out pretty quickly. And it's actually, so here's a spot where the hoop had been resting for the last few hours. It's not, I don't know if it's a function of the hoop itself or this using pearl cotton, but it doesn't seem to squish the stitches down too much, which I'm appreciating. All right, so there's the hoop. Sorry, I don't have a name up for it, but I'm sure if you saw it in the store, you'd recognize it. They had different sizes, and they also had different colors. This has been holding quite securely, the knob mechanism thing. So yeah, I thought I'd share that. Okay, so it's the end of the day on July 3rd. And I accomplished just about everything I set out to do on the Bristol table topper. It's about 8:30 and I need to practice piano before I go to bed, and then I have to be up at like 5:30 or something to go strawberry picking tomorrow. So this will be it for today. What I stitched today was these motifs at the bottom here, this corner motif, this area. I did this border bit. I finished off this house. I think I started with the tree done, or part of the tree done. I finished off this house. So that was today's work. To be completely finished with this quadrant, the pattern's divided sort of in triangles, and to be completely finished with this quadrant, I would have to, what would I have to do? I would have to do, there's two more small motifs here and a leaf motif. And then I can turn the work and turn the pattern. Half of this corner motif is actually technically from the next quadrant, but it didn't make sense to me to cut the thread off just because it was on the next pattern. So I just went ahead and turned it and did that bit. Oh yeah, and I did this filigree at the bottom as well. So far my nun stitching is holding up fine, which I'm happy about. One question for all of you. I'm trying to decide, this is an anchor I believe, but I'm trying to decide what this is meant to be. First I thought maybe it's a bird in a cage? I don't know. It's hard to tell. So if you happen to know what that's meant to be, or what it looks like to you, could you leave a comment? I'm really interested to know. Maybe there's somebody who's familiar with sampler motifs and knows what it should be. Right, I'll sign off for the day, and the Flosstube Adventure will continue. So, my Q-snap arrived today. My 11 by 17 Q-snap. I'm really happy it did because we're expecting some kind of labor disruption in Canada Post. They do have to give 72 hours notice and they haven't yet, so we'll see what happens. But I was thinking it could take, I don't know, a month or something, depending on how long they strike or are locked out. So if you're wondering why I'm showing you this, the kit front sheet for my birth announcement, it's because that's what I loaded into the Q-snap. So, and miraculously it fits perfectly. Now what I don't have yet is a grime guard. When I do, I'm hoping that will kind of hold these bits out of the way. This is the only one that might be a problem. And I might even be tempted to just tape the very edge down so that I can access that bit there. But yeah, this is here. I'll back up a bit. You can see the pile from my haul last time. That went on the last video. But yeah, it fits perfectly. I'm really excited about that. And it's nice and taut. And it seems like these grippers hold a bit more tightly than the ones on my non-Q-snappy Q-snap, so that's good. Just since I'm here, a quick close-up. You can see I'm sorely lacking backstitch, but I'm so close to being done with the cross stitch. So that's what I'm going to work on right now. I've been working on Bristol table topper, and I've kind of reached my limit for that for the day. And then it's evening, so even with the aught light, it doesn't work to stitch on black. So the inspirational poster has to wait. And yeah, so it'll be this one. I'm hoping this kind of vlog style-ish thing is working for you all. Just kind of recording snippets here and there as I go along, and once I have what I think is enough, I'll upload it. What I'm really hoping to do is to be able to finish inspirational poster and show that as a finish. We'll see. Anyways, I'll get back to my stitching and my floss tube, and see you next time. Alright, an unpackaging of sorts. Don't worry, that's not my actual address. I use a parcel delivery service when I get things delivered to the States, and then I can pick it up from there because I live so close to the border. So I placed an order from NordicNeedle.com a few weeks back now. There was one item that I had ordered that they didn't have in stock. She called me and left a message so that I was able to respond with, do I want you to send 2 packages or do I want you to wait? I chose to wait until they had it all to send. And as soon as they did have it all together, it arrived within a couple of days. Granted, I live not too far away, actually. Fargo is not far away from where I am. But it came nice and quickly, which was nice. We're kind of looking forward to a postal service disruption here in Canada, and so so having this option, getting things shipped to just south of the border and then picking it up myself, is great. I wasn't quite able, I did peek a little bit. I opened the package, but I haven't actually taken anything out yet. But here we go. First of all, I have wanted to try Hardanger for a while. And I thought that something small with all the necessary bits and pieces would be a good way to start. I've watched a few YouTube tutorials and I thought, okay, this might be doable. So this is what I got. The Elegant Adornments Christmas and Hardanger Embroidery, designed by Roz What Nemo, I believe. And it looks like it includes the inside of the ornament. If I remember correctly, and two red variegated threads. If I remember correctly, the supplies will make one double-sided ornament, or you can make the 2 ornaments as long as the back is plain. So That's what I got in there. And I don't want to pull the pattern out right now just in case it'll show you the chart right off the bat, but there you go. I'm wondering if those are actually mirror pieces in there. Oh, I bet that's the metal showing. All right, I had also ordered 2 other items, so let's go for the next one. Okay, after watching all of Carolyn Mazzio's floss tubes, in one of them she talked about making a Biscornu. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that. If it's a French word, it seems to me that the S would probably be silent, but I've heard it called Biscornu, so that's what I'm going with for now. And anyways, Carolyn had a really solid tutorial on how to join the pieces together. And so I wanted to find, again, a kit so that I wouldn't have to buy extra supplies. And just in case I didn't enjoy it and whatever, although I suspect I shall. This is my second Riolas kit ever. The first one was a Lily of the Valley cross stitch. But anyways, I thought I'd try a Biscornu. So there's all the Riolas threads. They often have a sort of wool, but these actually look like proper cotton floss just from at first glance. A little bit of metallic there. Yay, I have thread heaven. And it looks like they've included the beads. And some type of either an even weave or a very small Ada. Well, that's exciting. It's going to be hard to not start it quite yet, but I've got another piece that needs finishing before I dive into anything new. Well, I've got many. And then, last but not least, it's a chatelaine. So, it's just the pattern, the chart. Oh, it looks like it's one of those ones where they include an actual photograph on the front. So I've seen these around for a while. Different floss tubers have talked about them. Let's see if I can get this out so it doesn't glare quite so badly. And I really like the look of Alpine Seasons. I thought it would make a nice seasonal decoration. Just a second. While I attempt to remove the chart. There's the materials list on the back. This one, I believe, the kit that you can order from, what is it, European Cross Stitch? I think it costs over 350 bucks US. It's at least 300. And Canadian exchange is not wonderful right now, so. Alright, I'll have to, whoops, that was a bit of chart there, but I don't think that would be useful to anyone. These are loose papers, so I'll have to find a way to bind it. But this is an actual photograph of the finished piece, Alpine Seasons. And my camera tends to focus better when I zoom in. There you go. And a lot of people talk about substituting threads so that it's not so expensive, but my feeling, at least for now, is that if I'm going to do it, I kind of want the experience of doing it with all the fancy schmancy threads. So I'm thinking maybe I'll just kind of accumulate them over time and see if I can put it together that way. I like that it starts with a fairly straightforward bit of cross stitch and then goes kind of crazy as you work your way out. So I'm really excited about that one. So I would have to say that my experience ordering from Nordic Needle was entirely positive. I would absolutely order from them again. They were really great at communicating quickly, and yeah, they had great selection too. I kind of looked at all their Biscornus and all their Hardanger and their different chatelaines and picked from one each of those, and it was a nice selection. There were a few things of each that I would have enjoyed purchasing. So that was my unofficial unboxing, I guess, of my Nordic Needle haul. So you know how I said I really need to work on this Bristol table topper, so I'm not going to start anything new? Well, I did. This is the Biscornu. I know from Carolyn Mazzio's tutorials that It's really, really, really important to stitch precisely. You can't fudge the dimensions. And this one happens to be 81 stitches square. So what I've done is I have quickly gridded it up and I've started. I think this is my first time stitching 1/1. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. So the Biscornu has been begun. Oh, one more thing to mention. It's a Russian kit. It's a Riola's kit. And so there's the English instructions. They're a little bit, I mean, it's not perfect English, but then again, many people who speak English as their native or first tongue don't speak that great English anyways, or especially write it. So the little errors don't get in the way of understanding, or at least they haven't so far. So I'm really looking forward to working on this and completing it. And for now, it's just giving me a nice break from Table Topper. For something a little bit different, but stitchy related, I thought I'd show you my budgeting software because I love it so much. So I'm not very good with numbers. I tend to, add things 10 times and get 10 different answers. And a couple years back, I figured I really needed to get a handle on it. It was, I don't know, maybe the third time that I'd gone to the bank for a loan to get out of credit card debt. And yeah, that needed to change. So a friend of mine told me about this software. It's internet based. It's called YNAB. You need a budget. So it's easy to remember. There's the tab, YNAB. If you've been looking for internet software or for budgeting software, just Google youneedabudget.com and this will come up. So the part that's stitchy related, and yes, you can see my real numbers, and no, I don't. That doesn't bother me. I don't know. I know there's supposed to be all kinds of taboos around that thing, around that kind of thing, but there isn't for me. I was mentioning how I had been in credit card debt. I am again. I moved recently and I bought a bunch of new stuff for the house, so that needs to be dealt with over the next few months. I have a half decent car now. Well, better than half decent. I really like my vehicle, and so I'm paying for it. And like I said, I moved into a new house, and like new, not just new to me, but new. And yeah, so there you go. And before you start thinking that I'm super rich, that number is 3 months worth. That has to last till the end of September. All right, so I've got some categories here, and what I've done is I've assigned the money that I have to these categories. If I don't have cash, the category doesn't get funded. And that way I can keep track of exactly how much I have and exactly where I plan to spend it. I can also move it around if I change my mind. So for example, if I decide I'd rather go a bit frugal this month and not spend $300 on groceries, maybe I can make do with $250. Then I can lower that amount, and then I'll have money in my to be budgeted that I can assign elsewhere. Anyways, I've got some main categories here, and I'll collapse them so you can see better. So I've got credit card payments. Anything I put on my credit card, that money automatically pops up here so that I know how much I have to pay off the credit card. As you can see, my Amazon credit card right now is completely paid off. So I'll collapse that one. Food. I've got groceries. I've got a column for eating out. That's about enough to cover going out with friends maybe once a month. And then crap, junk food. Car-related expenses, everything to do with my home, the things that are quite regular costs. Just point out, I live in a place where our electricity is generated by water power, so our electricity bill is called the hydro bill. That can be confusing for some people. And then I've got my irregular expenses. Some of these are things that I'd like to save up for over time, but right now my priority is getting that credit card debt gone, so I haven't been putting a lot in here. RDFs, rainy day funds, things that I know are going to happen and they have a set amount. Some of these are broken down, so I have to pay to use the software, and I set aside approximately $6 a month for that. This is professional development fees, $15 a month for that, and then I have enough when the time comes, and it just accumulates over time. Piano lessons are out for the summer, but normally I'd put $88 in there. Giving, not giving lately, but I do try to put some money in there so that when opportunities come up, I've got something set aside. All right, rainy day funds that are flexible. So these ones can change from time to time, and none of them are things that must be paid. Stupid tax. Stupid tax is what happens when you speed. I'll be hiding that category once that's paid. Medical, it's yellow because I'm in the hole, but I'm in the hole because it's an expense that I get reimbursed for. And so on. Anyways, let me get to here, hobby. So as you can see, I've got $160 budgeted for this month. I've spent $144 and a cent this month, and I have $15.99 left. And that should cover a few incidentals. Now if we go over to August, I'm a teacher, so I was paid for the entire summer, so I'm budgeted out to the end of September. And if you go into August, you can see here the hobby line. I haven't put anything in there for the month of August. I'm hoping to just kind of stick to stash and make that work that way, because I really do need to focus on getting the credit card paid down. So you can still see the $15.99 in there. As I spend it down, that'll go down. And then if I move to September, which is also budgeted because I do have money to last me through the end of September. In September, I mean, I do want to pay down my credit card, but I'm also realistic, and I know that if I don't budget money in the hobby category, I'm going to spend it anyways. So I put $100 in there. We'll see. By then I should have one or two things that need framing. Maybe I'll use it to get something framed. And I have been considering adding another category just for framing and just adding to that every month. We'll see. So I thought I'd share that with you. If you're interested in budgeting software, Google youneedabudget.com. It's a bit of a learning curve because most or many budgeting programs ask you to estimate your expenses, and then they kind of tell you at the end of the month whether you met those goals or not. This one works in the opposite direction. This one, you enter the money you actually have on hand. That's what this is about. And then you assign jobs to these dollars. And once you run out of money, you stop assigning jobs. You might still have a category, but that category, for example, like my entertainment category here, is empty. And so then I know if I'm going to make a purchase, excuse me, let's say I decide to buy a book, I can quickly look and say, oh, my entertainment category is empty. And then I have a decision to make. Do I want to pull money from something else? Or am I okay with leaving that book for now, and maybe I'll come back to it another time when I have the money. Helps me stick to my priorities so that I can spend money where I want to spend money and not get to the end of the month and wonder where it all went. So there you go. That's my budgeting software. I should mention I don't get paid for this. They don't know I'm doing this. They might not even want me to. I don't know. Definitely not a spokesperson of any kind. But I like the software so much that I like telling people about it. And it's Stitchy related because it helps me make sure that I have money for my hobby. Well, it's the evening of Saturday, July 9th, and I just wanted to show you what I've been working on today. Here's the start that I shouldn't have started. it's going to be a Biscornu, and I did some sort of rudimentary gridding just to make sure that I get my measurements exact, because from what I understand, if they're not precise, it won't stitch up properly in the end. And I wanted to show a mistake actually. Oh, and I should mention, this fabric, the kit says it's Zweigart fabric, tends to make stitches disappear. So there are actually 3 of the darker green there. Things like to slide in and out behind the weave. Okay, the mistake. As I was stitching this green, I discovered, or I accidentally stitched straight across here. I had left holes back here for the yellow, and but when I got here I'd forgotten about it and I just happily stitched all the way across. I did this half of the curly bit, I started going back, and somewhere around here I realized, oh, I should have left spots there. Now this is anchor floss, and I'm finding, I know people say it's the same quality as DMC, but I am finding that it frays a lot faster, so it doesn't take as kindly to frogging and then restitching. And yes, I know technically one should never restitch with frogged thread, but I do all the time. And with DMC it's almost never an issue, but with this it is. So anyways, what I did was I had stitched all one direction and then I was coming back in the other direction for the top leg of the cross stitch. So what I did is I frogged back to about here, well, to exactly here, and what that did was it left the bottom leg of the light green in the incorrect spots. But I figured because the yellow is so much, I don't know, it's stronger, it would be okay to stitch on top of it. So when I came in with the yellow, I stitched the full cross, bottom leg and top leg, in the yellow. The bottom leg's meant to sort of cover up the green that was left behind. And I think you can tell. If you know what's going on, you can tell. If you compare these two with these two. There we go. However, it's acceptable to me. And this is the bottom of the Biscornu, so that's how I'm justifying it to myself. There's the Biscornu. Kind of telling myself that I need to work on Bristol table topper, which you can kind of see behind here, before I do the Biscornu, because of course I'm having, you know, new start jitters and all I want to do is work on this one. But it cannot be, because Bristol table topper needs to be done by the end of this month. And so far I'm on track. So this thing is stitched in quarters. I mentioned that before, and the quarters are triangular. So this quarter is completely finished except for a little bit in the center, but I'm going to do the center as one block. It's because the quarters are in triangles, it divides that center block in 4, and I'm going to do that in 1. And then here's the quarter that I was working on, and that needs to be done next, completed next. Now there are 3, I believe, there are 3 weeks left in July. So if I finish this quarter, I'll be a bit ahead of schedule. These blocks I do in the hoop. These ones I can't really. So these ones I do, and this bit in the edge I do in hand. So what I've been doing is I'm leaving this till the end so that there's fewer stitches for the hoop to squish. This needs to be finished here. There's some motifs here, some motifs here, and then of course the 3 leaves, one of which is done already. The motifs that go here are part of the 3rd quarter. So I think I'm in good, I'm so far I'm okay for time. Sorry about the finger there. My favorite motif, I just have to show you, has been this dog, just because, at least I think it's a dog, just because I really feel like, well, I'm amazed. I'm amazed at how in so few stitches you get a really sort of characterful silhouette. Even there's no color, there's no I mean, the green basically serves as a neutral, right? There's no color, there are no details, no eye, no ear details even, and you still get this really evocative image, and I think that's pretty fantastic. Also, I have to tell you, this pearl cotton on the and cloth, I love the dimension it gives. It's just so fun to run your fingers over it. It just is. Okay, so that's the progress for July. Ooh, fuzzy. There we go. For July, to the end of July 9th. And the goal is keep working on this, get back to inspirational poster and finish that off, work on Earth, and then I've also got I've got storybook sampler waiting for Earth to be finished, and now I've got that Biscornu going. And of course there's a bunch of other whips that are sort of waiting in the wings. Oh, and I should have mentioned this block gets repeated here. So there you go. That's the progress for now.